What you need to know about coronavirus on Monday, April 27. A version of this story appeared in the April 27 edition of CNN's Coronavirus Fact vs. Fiction newsletter. Sign up here to receive the need-to-know headlines every weekday. Seeking relief from a heatwave, thousands of people crowded beaches in Southern California this weekend, despite a statewide stay-at-home order implemented last month. While beaches in Los Angeles and San Diego counties remained closed, those in Ventura and Orange counties were packed with people trying and, at times struggling, to adhere to a patchwork of guidelines and restrictions. It's a sign that officials may find it impossible to keep Americans' behavior in check as the summer approaches and good weather tempts people back outdoors. Governor Gavin Newsom's plea to Californians ahead of the sunny weekend to stay at home went unheeded. "You have the power to literally save lives," he wrote on Twitter, urging Californians to help flatten the curve. Dr. Deborah Birx, one of the White House Coronavirus Task Force's top health officials, warned that social distancing would continue throughout the summer. Birx's warning comes as she struggles to maintain a delicate balancing act between science and a slew of disinformation from President Donald Trump, Stephen Collinson and Maeve Reston write. On Sunday she implied that the number of tests the U.S. had conducted was nowhere near sufficient. "You asked, we answered Q. Can you safely reuse a non-cloth mask that you can't wash, like a disposable mask?" Yes, you can, says Dr. Joseph Vinitz, an infectious diseases professor at Yale School of Medicine. To disinfect masks that you can't wash, Vinitz recommends leaving them in a clean, safe place in your home for a few days. After that, it should no longer be infectious, as this coronavirus is known to survive on hard surfaces for only up to 3 days. You can reuse cloth masks, too. Just machine wash them between each use on a high heat setting. Learn more about which masks you shouldn't buy and how you can make your own without having to sew here. More than 50,000 people have asked us questions about the outbreak. Send yours here. Are you a healthcare worker fighting COVID-19? Message us on WhatsApp about the challenges you're facing. +1 34732204415. What's important today? Boris Johnson is back and warns UK to contain your impatience. The UK Prime Minister is back at work today, warning the nation it is a time of maximum risk and asking people to remain vigilant as the country's death toll sits above 20,000. The Prime Minister's return to Downing Street follows a more than 3-week absence from work after he tested positive for coronavirus, during which he spent a week in hospital, including some days in an intensive care unit. In early remarks outside Number 10 on Monday, he thanked the nation for following the government's restrictions and apologized for being away from my desk for much longer than I would have liked. He could not say when restrictions in the country might ease, but announced that the government would comment on such plans in coming days. Johnson will likely be faced with a barrage of questions this week. While he was recovering, it emerged that he missed 5 coronavirus cabinet meetings at the beginning of the outbreak, a time that his critics say was crucial in slowing the virus's spread. The virus hunters who search bat caves to predict the next pandemic. Peter Daszak is a virus hunter. Over the past 10 years he has visited over 20 countries to find new pathogens, particularly coronaviruses, to prevent the next pandemic. So how do they do it? Daszak, who presides over EcoHealth Alliance, and his team are in China's Yunnan province, using nets to collect bats from caves. They put the bats to sleep and withdraw blood to study, along with the bats' droppings, to help identify which viral strains might transmit to humans. Almost all of Germany is now required to wear face masks. There's been a lot of debate over the efficacy of wearing face masks, but Germany, like many countries in Asia and some in Europe, is now making it mandatory to wear them in public as the country gradually lifts its lockdown. Also in Germany, the world's biggest carmaker by sales, Volkswagen, reopens its largest European factory in Wolfsburg today. The firm said it was an important signal for the workforce, dealerships, suppliers and the wider economy. Italy announces plan to lift lockdown. Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte on Sunday announced the nation would ease its lockdown from May 4, including the loosening of some travel restrictions, increased access to parks and gardens, and allowing funerals with up to 15 attendees. The manufacturing and construction sectors will reopen entirely, while bars and restaurants will be allowed to offer takeaway services. Conte, however, warned that the social distancing measures must be respected. "If you love Italy, carry on distancing," he said in a video announcement. Italian journalist and author Beppe Severgnini spoke to Ben Weidman about what life is like in northern Italy right now. The food supply chain is breaking, Tyson says as plants close. Tyson Foods in the U.S. is warning that millions of pounds of meat will disappear from the supply chain as the pandemic pushes food processing plants to close, leading to product shortages in grocery stores across the country. The food supply chain is breaking, wrote board chairman John Tyson in a full-page advertisement published Sunday in the New York Times, Washington Post, and Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. U.S. farmers don't have anywhere to sell their livestock, he said. A plant closure in Waterloo, Iowa, came after weeks of public pressure. Production had already slowed there because many of its 2,800 workers had been calling in sick, and local health authorities linked the Tyson plant to 182 cases, nearly half of the county's total. On our radar with gyms closed and boot camps cancelled, running has seen a boom. And if you're new to it, here's a guide to getting started. Engineers at NASA have developed a high-pressure ventilator prototype called Vital, specifically tailored to help coronavirus patients. As the need for widespread COVID-19 testing grows, officials are looking to flush out hidden cases of the virus by examining sewage. Hospitals in New York are giving COVID-19 patients heartburn medicine to see if it helps fight the virus. Test and trace. Bill Gates explains how the U.S. can safely ease coronavirus restrictions. Top tip: since a study found that the coronavirus can live on cardboard for a day and plastic for 2 to 3 days, a lot of people have been wiping down their groceries in takeout containers. There's no need, according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, which says there's no evidence of the virus transmitting that way, the FDA says. But definitely wash your hands after handling packaging, says Jamie Lloyd-Smith, one of the scientists who worked on the only study to analyze how long the virus remains on various surfaces. Vulnerable people, however, could take some extra precautions. One reasonable and easy-to-implement precaution for groceries that don't need refrigeration is simply to let them sit for a day or more before unpacking them, he said. Today's podcast: the thing about germs and viruses like this is that they are too small for us to see or feel even on our skin. But that doesn't mean that scientists haven't been able to use microscopes and get a good look at them. This coronavirus is called coronavirus because corona means crown. So this looks like a little blob with a crown on top of it. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, when asked what do the germs look like? By Sachin for New York Kids, asks CNN's chief medical correspondent Rive. Sanjay Gupta and CNN 10 anchor Carla Zuz some of the key questions on their minds. Listen now. Click subscribe to receive the latest news.